Hi everybody, welcome to the beginner Tableau tutorial where we're going to introduce you to just the basics of Tableau, what you kind of need to know to get started, and all of the possibilities. So there's a lot in this video where we're just trying to sort of skim the surface. We're going to introduce you to the different types of graphs that you can use, how to tell a very simple story. We'll talk more in the intermediate and advanced ones in terms of how to do it more detailed, but let's just get started. Let's show you what Tableau can do and let you play around with it a little bit. So first off, what we're going to do, and again, you should have this sheet up. The times will probably be filled in once I get the chance. But we're going to kind of just go through this piece by piece and start. So you should have two things open, either Tableau or Tableau Public. You might be open on a screen like this, and then you're going to open the shell that we have along with the data. So I'm going to do both of those things in a second, but the first thing I always want to do, but before we go into Tableau, it's always important to understand what data we have. And so the data we're working with is Superstore data that has three different sheets on it. So it has an order sheet, which is the one we'll be focusing on. Stuff like order date, ship mode, customer ID, customer name, segment, country, like all this, different product information, quantity sold, profit on the product. So we have all of that, and then we also have people, so like person and region, and then returns. And the nice thing about Tableau is it can connect kind of like Excel, but a lot easier if things have unique IDs. But the problem with this data is, notice that like all of these have the same ID, and so we're not going to actually be able to connect across any of these sheets. If we did have a unique ID, we could, but for this one we can't. So what we're going to focus on is just the order. So I always, again, like to just look in Excel and just make sure I know what I'm messing around with. So if you want, pause the video, spend a few seconds sort of identifying what all of this stuff is. It's what we're going to read into Excel, though, or read into Tableau. Okay, so let's see, I don't want to save this. So if we have Tableau, the first thing we want to do is open the beginner tutorial. So wherever you downloaded it, you can do File and then Open. And so I have it in my downloads folder. You should just be able to double click this. It's going to load up. And you can kind of see where we're going. So I have it kind of outlined. Most of the time, Tableau is not going to start or look anything like this. But I wanted to have a little bit of a layout. That way you kind of know. So here's like sort of the welcome. Use the data sheet. This is stuff you can kind of come back to. A little bit of this has changed with the new updated Tableau. So you don't see dimensions and measures anymore. They follow in the same order, but it kind of walks through the terminology of the interface and all the different stuff. So I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to let you like pause and read over this if you want. I think you learn more as we talk, and I'll try and explain while we're going through. But this can be a nice little refresher of sort of what the different pieces are. Let's see. If you want to publish this to your profile, you can do it with both Tableau Public or Tableau Desktop. I'll talk more about this in at the end of the video, but I also created the steps here. So you can go through this tutorial with Tableau Public, which is free for everyone. You do have to create an account. Please remember your password. Or if you already have Desktop and you're working it through there, you can use it, and you can still save it to your public profile. Now, if you're using Desktop and you haven't created a public profile, well, you need to create a public profile. And you can actually do it, so you can see that I'm actually working in Tableau Desktop. The big key indicator is like the server button. Like if you have that, that means you're in Tableau Desktop, which is perfectly fine. The key difference between these kind of two is Tableau Desktop is I can save all of this stuff locally. I can save it on my computer and then upload it, whereas a weakness of Tableau Public is you don't actually ever save anything to your computer. It only saves to your online profile, which for students, Desktop is always free, but if you go out into a company that doesn't have Tableau, well, then you'd either have to pay for desktop or just get public because it's free for everyone, which is really, really nice because anyone can use it. So let's see here. So understanding and reading the data in. So I'm just going to click on bar graph in here, and usually the data is going to show up over here on the left. But notice you don't see any because we haven't read it in. So what we have to do is down here on the bottom left, just click data source, and it'll look like you're kind of back to the start. Again, you might not see all these workbooks. These are just things I've played around with. And so yours might be blank if you haven't done anything. So what you need to do is, so if you know what type of file it is, you'll see these on the left. Again, this might be different based upon whether you have Tableau desktop or public. It doesn't matter for this tutorial. Desktop will connect to a bunch of different types of data, more than Tableau public, but for this you can use either one. I generally don't actually use these because especially some Excel files, they come as CSV files and I won't find them. But this one's Excel, so you can. But I always do File and then Open. And then I find wherever the data is. Again, you might have to download this from D2L. Make sure you've downloaded it and you know where it is. I just kept it in my downloads folder, so I'll click on it. I'll do Open. It's got to think for just a little bit here, reading in the data. And now it kind of comes to this point. And you should see, like, remember from Excel, we had 3 different sheets, and it has 3 different sheets over here. And we're going to tell, like, well, which one do we want to look at? Before we do that, I usually always check the Use Data Interpreter box, and this is going to have to think again for a second. Sometimes this just helps clean up a little bit before we start working with it, and makes it a little bit maybe more user-friendly than just manually. So we're only going to work with the orders sheet. So I'm going to take orders, I'm going to click and drag over to here. I'll drag in the table. It's going to think for a little bit. It's going to load up the data, and now it's going to kind of look like your Excel sheet, right? This is kind of looks very, very similar to that Excel sheet we were looking at. And you'll kind of notice Tableau kind of automatically identifies what type of data it is, and how you know is these little pictures on the top, and you'll actually see these later when we read them in. So the pound or hashtag signs means it's a numeric variable, right? ABC means non-numeric variable. Then you have this little, it looks kind of like a calendar. It means, okay, it's recognizing this as a date, which is really cool and stuff we'll be able to use for later. And then ABC, and then the last one I think we have here, let me make sure we don't have any other ones, yeah, is this globe. That means Tableau is understanding like, oh, like this is actually a location. And we're going to make maps later, which will be super, super useful. Okay, so we have this in. Now what we can do is go to any of our, like where we want to start. I'm going to start on the bar graph because that's where I want. And notice now, ta-da, right, all of this thing is set up, like all of the data that we kind of looked at. And so it's kind of set up there. And you can kind of see I've made a caption over on the right where I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then if you want to add notes while you're walking along, you can double click and just type in here kind of whatever you want. It's up to you. Just a word of caution, Tableau does not have spell check. And I, personally, am a terrible, terrible, terrible speller. You'll probably catch typos throughout this. So I usually write my notes in Word and then paste them in here, but it's completely up to you and sort of how you want to do it. Okay, so before you could, so right now we could start and just start building graphs, but in the short run that'll be quicker, in the long run that'll make life more difficult. So I like to get organized before I sort of start working with anything. And so these are kind of in like a random order, and I'm pretty sure you can drag and kind of move these around and do it that way. But something I like to do, oops, I cancel. I like to make folders that let us group things together that are similar. And you don't have to do this if you don't want, but you can. So first thing I'm going to do is I need to change this. When it's in table format, it's like reading from Excel. I'm going to do the drop down and change this to group by folder, and it's going to look like nothing's changed because we haven't created any folders. But that's what we're going to do now. So Let's see, where do we want to kind of start? Let's kind of go down through here. I'm going to come back to these globes in a little bit, but let's start with let's group the customer things together, like ID and customer info, something like that. So if you click on the drop down on any of these variables, I like to go with the one I'm starting with, and scroll down. You should see folders, and just create a folder. And let's title this. So let's title this, I don't know, customer info. And now you have this folder, and you might have to scroll up to see it right here. And so any customer info I can now drag in there. So customer name is probably something I would want in there. Is there anything else from the customer that I might want? No, it doesn't look like anything else, which is good. Now let's create one that's like order details, and again, I'll come back to these here. Stuff like that. So let's see, I see order date. I feel like that's like an order information, so I'll do a drop down, and I'll do folders. You can add it to a current folder that way, or you just create a folder. And I'm gonna title this one maybe, let's see, order details. I'll do okay. So I have that. So I have order date. Let's see what else we might want in there. Order ID is probably a good one to have in there. Maybe, let's see. I might see if you can put product information in there if you want, product name. I'm going to create a separate category for that. It's kind of up to you. Let's see. I'll do the ship date. That's sort of an order detail. Ship mode, something like that. And then let's create one more titled just general product information. Instead of breaking it down by order, let's do product information. So category, again, type of product we sold. So I'll do the drop down, I'll do folder, create folder, and I'll title this one product information. And again, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. It's completely up to you. I like to be organized before. And so let's see, product information. Let's see, product ID, I probably want that in there. I probably want product name in there. I probably want segment in there. Probably want subcategory. And again, it's kind of up to you. Row ID isn't in a variable that we really use that often, so I'm not going to really do anything with it. And then the last one. So this one's kind of important for, excuse me, anything with the globe that has sort of a natural ordering. And so if I left city by itself and I wanted to look at city data and I dragged it out, there are problems with that because think about the city named Lexington. Well, I know off the top of my head, there's a Lexington, Kentucky. There's a Lexington, Virginia. Where else is that? I'm pretty sure there's a Lexington, North Carolina. And so if we just use that, Tableau is going to be like, I have no idea what state you want me to put this in. It's going to read it or give you problems. And so what we can do is I create a hierarchy is what it's called. And you set the biggest one at the top, so like location-wise. So I have state, let's see, country, region, postal code. So country's the biggest. So again, drop down. And then instead of folders, go to hierarchy, and we'll do create hierarchy. And then we'll call this location info or something like that, whatever you want. So we'll do this. And now it's dragging, so we'll want to drag stuff in the order in which it appears. So we have country, region. Well, then I'm going to drag state. And then I'm going to drag, let's see, city. Oh, I don't want that. It's trying to create another hierarchy. So again, if you try and drag on top, it's going to try and create its own. So you could have done that manually, but I'm trying to show you every way to do it. So then we have city, and then we have postal code. Right, and now if I drag city out, it automatically knows which state, because it's connected to that, whether it's Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, anything like that. And so I like to always do that with location. Sometimes it does it automatically, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of up to you. Okay, so these are all our, what we call dimensions. Again, mostly non-numeric / locational stuff. And then usually at the bottom they have measures, which are our numeric things. So discount, profit, quantity, sales. And you can group these together if you want. Or I'll probably leave them separate because I would put probably all of these in the same folder already. It's kind of up to you. Okay, so now we're organized. Let's start building some stuff. So let's see what we want to do. So a bar graph. So it says build a bar graph that displays sales and profit based on category and subcategory. And most of you all are probably used to like, okay, one dimension, right? One outcome like category versus one measure. And that's where we want to start. So again, category and numeric, if we want to show differences. So what we can do is, let's start with just category and sales. So I'm going to find category here. And then Tableau is just drag and drop. And then if you messed up, undo, right? You can do that. And so I didn't talk much about these, but I'll talk more about these top toolbars and what these sort of a middle toolbar is as we kind of move along. And so for the bar graph, let's start with category. Let's take it to columns. All right, and it's going to show like, okay, we have 3 categories, and then we haven't told it what data we want. And then let's go grab sales. All right, we'll drag it in here. All right, we'll start, and ta-da! There's a beautiful bar graph. It's ugly early on, and let's say you didn't want this. So you're like, oh, I wanted a horizontal bar graph. So up here in our toolbar, there's this little thing here where we can flip it. Right, let's say you want it vertical or horizontal. Right, you can do that. And I kind of like this one a little bit better because notice you can see the names a little bit better. If you don't like this ordering, there's a couple ways we can change it. So these 2 buttons here are ascending and descending. So I could click this and notice, right, it says from smallest to largest, or we could do largest to smallest. Or if you just have an order that you want, you can actually click in here and drag and move them around. So we can modify these really quickly. Hopefully that's sort of good and kind of indicates what you can do. Let's see, where do we want to go now? So we have category. Let's add subcategory. Right, so let's split this even further. So let's get both of our sort of our dimensions, make sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, our different categories in here. So let's drag subcategory up to here, right? And then we drop it, and notice, ta-da! Now we have category and then split by subcategory. And again, you can sort by ascending and descending. And you can actually do it within these as well. So notice like, oh, if you want it alphabetical, you could click there. You could click there. You can also click on the filter button and choose how you want it. So it's all up to you, like how you like it. It's completely up to you. Let's see, what do we need to do now? Okay, so we have sales, it's pretty easy. Like what if we want to see, I don't know, so now we want profit. Well, I could do a second table and compare the same things, but that would take me another sheet. What we can do is, let's use color to show profit. So let's find profit over here, all right, and drag it. So notice this marks card, and again, I'm just dragging like here, has a bunch of different things which we'll play around throughout this tutorial, but let's drag profit until over color and then drop it. And now, ta-da, right? Now we have both sales and then the color. I don't love the orange and blue here, so it's kind of up to you in terms of what you want to do with this. So if you want to change the colors, you can click on this little drop down arrow and then do edit colors. And then, so you might think, well, profit, so negative should be bad and red, good should be green. And again, this is 100% up to you. There are literally hundreds of different ways that you could do this. And so I know the most common one is the temperature diverging, so I'll do that one and we can kind of talk about it. And notice that it has green on the negative and red on the bad. Well, we can reverse that or red on the good. Let's just reverse that. Hit apply, and ta-da! You can see the different colors. And so now green is good, red is bad. We don't have much red, so if we wanted to play around with like where this scale starts, we could click on advanced. And then we can tell it like where to start, where to end, stuff like that. So I don't know, let's do negative like 5,000. 5,000. And we can do apply, and that doesn't do anything for us. So let's try, I don't know, let's try 0. There we go. And so now, I mean, again, this is all completely up to you. You can kind of play around. You can use full color range and apply, and it doesn't change much. But now we can see high sales and low profit. So the size of these, and again, if you like vertical, you can do it like this. It's completely up to you. Just playing around with it. in terms of that. So yeah, that's a lot I've already thrown at you. Like, play around with color. You can actually move these things around too. So if you like want a better view, you can actually so click on this and drag it here. I know a lot of people like to work under here, so I can maybe bring caption under here, and then it gives us a little bit more room to kind of play with over here. Again, up to you, whatever your personal preference is. The last thing I'll show is, well, what if we wanted to go even further? Like, we wanted segment in there as well. So I could throw segment in here, and then, well, now there's too much going on. Right? There's kind of too much going on. So I'm going to drag this to get rid of stuff. Just drag it off of there, and you can really just drop it wherever you want. And we can use the filter. To let us play around with this a little bit. So let's take, where are we? So segment, and if you take it up here and drop it into filters, you can say well, what segments do you want to look at? Well, I want to look at them all. You can check all the boxes, or you can click all, and then you do apply. And it looks like nothing happened, so you can hit OK, and then if you do the drop down arrow and hit show filter, right, this shows up. So now we can just say, well, what if I only want to look at the consumer? All right, so I'll check on consumer. All right, and then I'll check on consumer and corporate, or just consumer and home office. I'm going to do them all. And you can change how this thing looks too. So if you click on the little drop down, it gives you a bunch of these. So maybe you only want to be able to do one at a time. So I'll check single value. Well, now I can look at consumer and corporate, and then home office. It's kind of up to you, whatever your preference is. So let's just drag it down here. If you don't want to do kind of this long way, so drag it in, select, and then hit show filter. There's another way that you can do it, and it's kind of up to you however you want to do it. Maybe we want to sort it by order date as well, look at different years. Instead of taking this, and we can show it, dropping it, and we have to pick, so how we want to split it. So we can choose year if we want, next, and then this pops up again. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to close this, go back over to order date, click on the drop down, and then do show filter right here. So when you do that, it just pops up over here, and it starts as year, and then same thing. You can play around with maybe multiple value drop down list. So again, now it's instead of ugly and checked, you can do this and then just do 2017, 2018, 2019, stuff like that. And again, you can kind of put this down over here if you want. It's up to you. And you can change if you want it to be monthly or anything like that. So yeah, I've shown you a lot of what Tableau can do just in a bar graph. So this isn't just a bar graph. This thing is sort of talking through every little piece of, well, not every piece, a lot of different pieces of Tableau. The last thing we'll talk about is dynamic titles, and this will be important later. So in here, the title, it'll probably be, so it'll say bar graph, because right now it's just matching the sheet name, but we can change it. So if you double click in here, you can, backspace and delete this. So we could say, I don't know, sales and profit by, let's see, subcategory by, and then we could just type segment, or we want to update which each one we're looking at, because that's our filter that we're going to play around with. So if you click on this insert and you find segment, so you'll click on segment, it's by, and then it's going to insert the segment name, whichever one we're looking at. And then we could say in year, because again we have these two filters. So let's do now, let's find our year, order date, hit apply, hit OK, and notice now, so sales and profit by subcategory by, I guess we should say, let's say 4, make that a little bit, I have 2017, 2018, 2019, because we have the multiple values. So now let's do this consumer, and now is consumer and updates, and then let's say we only want 2016. And so it's just updating, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm going to select all and then select all again, and so now it's kind of back to this. All right, so there's a lot you can do. I don't love these colors, I'll be honest. I kind of liked the initial one, the blue one, but again, it's very much up to you. So there's the beginning of Tableau. I've probably shown you I might have overwhelmed you. That's okay. Kind of play around with it. I want to show you as much as possible for kind of what's going on here. Okay, now let's go to the line graph. So let's see what our goal is. So our goal is to build a line graph showing how quantity changes over time and use color to show how profit compares during the same periods. All right, so there's a lot going on here. So first off, why do I want to use a time graph? A time graph is for anything that we want to look at how a variable or variables are changing / performing over time. So it kind of makes sense to, like, we need a time variable, which we've already kind of talked about. Let's look at order date. So again, the date of the product. We could, I guess, do ship date if you want it. We'll drag it into columns. All right, and then, so right now it's in year, and then what we're going to do is we'll look at quantity into rows, which again, this is kind of flipped intuitively, like your x-axis is columns and your y-axis is rows. I don't know why that doesn't connect very well in my brain for some reason. It just doesn't. And it starts with a line graph. And so I'm going to drag this over here. No, let's drag it back out here. And we can play around with the sizing here to fit whatever we want. So let's talk about these different pieces here. So what each of these are called are technically referred to as pills. And you'll know this. Well, this pill is blue and this pill is green. Generally, blue goes with dimensions or categorical things. And so in this case, our year is being treated as discrete. And so if we wanted to go further and say, I don't know, look at month, notice this little plus sign over here, we could do plus. Now it'll split it up over the 4 years across the 4 quarters. And if we wanted months, we could do plus again, and it kind of splits it up. I think that's too much, so I'm going to take month and drag it out and just get rid of it and look at it this way. When it's discrete, notice it's processing each of these years separately. Which is good if I wanted to compare 2016 to 2017, 2018, if I wanted to compare those across each 4. That's pretty nice. But there are also times when we'd want to make it make the variable continuous. All right, so when we do that, we're going to actually, you'll see this pill change to be green. So let's see, the best way I want to show you how to do this. So I'm going to drag this off and I'm just going to look at year. And then there are a bunch of different ways to do this. The easiest way I found is, so in here, right, we'll do the drop down. And there's 2 ways, and I'm going to talk about them both before I do them. So the easy way is if you go to the very bottom, you'll notice that you have the dot, okay, we're currently teaching time or treating time as discrete. Well, if you want it as continuous, you would just click this button. All right, so I'm going to click the button. And now you'll notice we're looking at how our measure evolves over time. The pill has changed to green. So I'm going to undo that. So Control or Command Z, or you can click on this button up here to kind of go back a step. Right. Another alternative is if you hit the drop down, are these 2 sections. And so the top section is typically considered discrete. I think that makes sense. Yeah, discrete. Let me make sure I'm not thinking about that wrong. And then the bottom section is continuous. I think I'm flipping that. No. Yeah, so I'm right. All right, so if you know you want to, how you want to look at your data, so I want it continuous and I want it by quarter, well, then you can select that. So I'll do quarter. You'll notice now, it's split. It's not looking at each year individually. It's just looking over time, what's going on. And I think this is a little bit more telling than the other one. You can still use the plus sign here. It's go further out if you want. So now we're looking at just by the month. And notice you don't have year, quarter, month listed out. It just has the month because that's what we're kind of treating it as. Okay, so let's stick with monthly if that's fine. You can go further if you want. Maybe you want to do weekly if you want. I'm going to stick with monthly just to make sense. And then let's see, what do we want to do now? What are we missing? So we have, we're looking at sales over time, right? You can kind of highlight over and see everything. And so maybe I want to look now, it looks like changes over time, use color to show profit. Okay, well we've done this already. So what we're going to do is take profit, drag it up to color, right, drop it on there, and now maybe I'll leave this here. So anywhere it's orange, I'll have low profit. Anywhere it's dark blue, I'll have high profit. And so what would I look for on this graph? Well, I would want, hopefully, high sales, high profit. So here, like, I'm looking here, I'm like, well, this is dark and it's pretty high, so it looks like in December 2018, I had high sales and high profit, which that ought to make sense. And same thing with the orange and low, like, well, I had low sales, low profit. All right, so really I would use this to look for kind of outliers or just to confirm that, like, it makes sense. If there were odd things showing up, I would want to look more at it and be like, huh, like, I wonder why. If you don't like this size, like, so notice, like, maybe you want this to be thicker or thinner. It's kind of up to you. So over on your marks card, you can click on size and really easily kind of adjust these. So maybe you want a really thin line, something like that, like that, or maybe like a really fat line for some reason. Oh God, that looks terrible. So I wouldn't do that, but maybe like whatever your kind of preference is, so you can kind of play around with like what this line looks like. I kind of like this where it's a little bit more narrow, something like that. And then, yeah, so that's a lot on the line graph. Those are relatively easy. We can change this dynamic title here, or this title to be dynamic. So we could say, I don't know. No, we didn't do any filter. So let's see, do I want to do a filter or no? How do we want to do this? Let's add order date in there. So we'll do sales. Let's see, sales and profit in however you all want to split it up. So let's do, let's say 4, and then let's do category maybe. So we'll do this, and then we haven't inserted the filter yet because I'm dumb. All right, so what I'm going to do is let's take category. So I'll do drop down here and then do show filter. And we have all of them. Again, you can drag and select. It's kind of up to you. And let's do order date as well. So order date, show filter. And then we can do show profit for sales and profit for this category in year, and then insert, where are we? Year, order date, apply, do okay. All right, and then once it's really long, like it's gonna kind of cut off on you. So let's just do like 2016, and let's say I only want furniture, and so the title or office supplies, and so it updates. You can look relatively easy. And so I'm gonna do all and all, and make sure that we have them all, and kind of go there. If you want to see, so another cool kind of thing here is like maybe you want to put this in a presentation later. You can kind of see how it would look to someone else. So presentation mode. All right, you can see it, and this kind of looks ugly to me, so I would probably make these like drop-down lists or something like that. I don't know that I would need this. I would get rid of the caption, but you can. It's a nice little unique feature. Okay, moving on. So let's move to a scatter plot. Scatter plots are relatively interesting. For these, you want to you're clearly looking at two different measures. Right, so two numeric things and how they relate to one another. So in this one, we're going to do, let's build a scatter plot showing the relationship between sales and profit that can be filtered based on subcategory. Okay, so when we start off here, we're going to just drag our sales and profit. And again, there's no actual order that you need these in. So let's do sales, let's do profit, and it's weird. It always starts with just one dot because it's trying to aggregate total sales and total profit as one point. We can deaggregate them a couple different ways. The easiest way is under analysis, and then where it says aggregate measures, you can uncheck that. And now it kind of gives us that. I'm going to undo and show kind of the other one. So Z, Control Z, Command Z. or you can do the back button here. And you can drag something onto detail that you want it kind of split on. So we're going to later look on subcategory. So actually, I don't think we're going to want to do that now. We want, I don't know, order ID or something like that onto detail, something like that, just so it like deaggregates. I always will do analysis and then uncheck aggregate measures, and we'll go through there. All right, so now we have sales on the x-axis, profit on the y-axis. That kind of makes sense to me, but if you like messed it up initially or forgot or something like that, you can click swap rows and it'll flip the axis, flip the axes for us. Again, this doesn't make sense to me, so I'm gonna flip them back here. Let's see, some cool stuff that you can do with these. Let's say you don't like the rings or anything like that. Well, once you get into sort of scatter plot mode, and if you've been working along and it doesn't automatically do a scatter plot, I should have probably talked about this earlier. There's this show me button over here you can click, and it drops down, like when you put stuff in, it gives us recommendations, like how we could use that. And right now, not a whole lot's lit up because there's not a whole lot that we can actually do. Because, and you can see, like, well, if I wanted a table, I would need, you can look at the bottom, a dimension and a measure. Well, we just have two measures right now, our two green things. We could technically do a bar graph, so if you click it, it'll automatically do it for you. That's sort of very odd to me. You can try like a bullet graph, a histogram, something like that. It's weird, it's not even giving me scatterplot as an issue again, or as an option anymore. That's no fun. Oh, it's because it updated with the one that we just did. So if I click back, so I'm going to do undo. I've got ourselves in some trouble. Control Z, Command Z if you're on Mac. All right, so I have my dimensions and measures. So I'm back to here, or my two measures. So I'm back to here. If you want to change these dots, you can go to shape. That's where I have. You can pick sort of ones that you like. Maybe you like triangles, maybe you like filled in dots, maybe you like, I don't know, asterisk, star, or something like that. I think that looks terrible. I'm boring, I might do like this. I've never actually played around with more shapes. You can actually look at the different shapes. Maybe you want like arrows for some reason. Weird that we would have all like down arrows or something like that. But it's, again, it's your preference of what you want. I'm going to go back to filled, and I'll do this one. Do apply. Do okay. And again, you can use the size thing here to change. Like maybe you want some massive dots. Like that looks terrible to me, but I like kind of a middle ground. Actually kind of like where they start us off, so something like this. If you like stats, any sort of analysis, Tableau will do a little bit of that for us. Up here on the left where you see the data tab, there's also an analytics tab, and there's a bunch of different things you can do. So if you wanted to add like a constant line, if you wanted to set like somewhere for the person to focus their eyes, like I don't know, at 1,000, something like that, or an average line, you could drag those in. I generally like the trend line. I'm a stats person, so what you can do is click it, drag it, and then you can drop it on any of these if you think one shape fits best. I might do like a linear trend line and see what happens, and it puts in the line of best fit, which is cool because you can actually hover over it and you can see the estimated line, like how sales. It gives you the p-value, the r-squared. If you've taken the stats class, hopefully you kind of know what those mean. You can also right click and describe, and it'll like give it to you a little bit more in general format. It's kind of up to you, which I think is really cool in terms of that. So what else do we need? So let's see, between sales and profit, it's pretty easy to see, but I like color. People like color. So let's add, again, profit to color. And so we'll do profit to color. And then we have our scale here. So blue is good, red is bad. And so again, it's kind of easy to see, like, well, this are high sales, high profit. And these are, right, higher sales, but lower profit. So these are kind of like interesting points to me, especially this one. Like, this was a big sale, but I took a big loss on it. And so it's a little bit easier to see when you add a little bit of color to it, which is relatively cool. Let's see, more information that we can add. Okay, so notice when we hover over these points, it tells us profit, sales. What if we want more information? Right, we can get it. And so that's where this card here is called tooltip. Anything like that you see when you hover over is something that's in the tooltip. And so let's say I wanted the customer's name in there. So let's see, do I have that anywhere? I think it's in my customer information folder. I can. So if I take this and drag it to tooltip, it looks like nothing's happening, but notice you see the little like icon pop up, and now if I scroll over, I can see like, oh, like that I sold it, Nathan Motts, $4,000, and $2,000 of that was profit. So you can see all of that information right there. Which is really, really nice in terms of that. Let's see, some stuff that bugs me and other stuff that you can fix. So notice that profit and sales, those are in dollars. All right, and so I like to have them have the dollar sign. There's a couple ways to do this. If you want to do it each individually, well, we need to find those variables like in our graph and figure out how to display it. Well, I have sales and profit up here. So for sales, let's do drop down arrow, and then we should see something that says format. So if you click format, this pane will come up, and to be honest, this takes a while to kind of get used to because you have all of these different options, which we'll review a little bit more. A lot of it's just playing around with. But yeah, you kind of just have to play around with these. So I'm going to start with axes, and it looks like that's like here, which is not really what I want. I think I can. So if I do number, and I change this to currency, I'm going to do currency standard. And so it's put the dollar signs down here, and then if I click off, notice that sales have also updated in the tooltip. So let's do the same thing for profit. I think you can also do this in the pane part, but let's try it actually. Let's do profit. We'll do format. And so now let's try it here. So default, let's do currency. Let's do custom. And then you can see all the stuff that you can change, right? How do I want to show negative? So we can show it negative in this. I like negative like that. And then I like 0 decimals if it's large numbers that we're playing with. All right, so then notice this hasn't changed, but inside the tooltip it's changed. And I would make these consistent, 1, 2 decimals for both of them. But again, it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. And so again, I'm just trying to introduce you to all the different features that you can do here. Let's see. So the last thing we need is let's filter it based on subcategory. Let's see. So hopefully this is maybe relatively easy for you now. Let's find subcategory. It's in the product information. You can either drag it to filters or again drop down, show filter, and you have all of these. It's kind of up to you, like how you want to do it. I might have like, let's do a single value drop down instead of like a let's do a slider. So just so a slider, this probably doesn't make sense to do it like this, but you can kind of slide and it goes alphabetically, just so like you all are seeing. And notice the line of best fit sort of is constantly updating. So you can do that. That probably doesn't make the most sense, so I might do single value. I'd probably do, single value drop down. All right, and then you can just sort of select sort of however you want. Again, I generally like to put these things a little bit over here. You can play around with the color if you want. It's completely up to you. Let's see, other things here. Let's select all. Other things you can format. So a lot of people don't really like the background lines. They'd like this to be a little bit cleaner, and it's pretty simple. So if you right click on the background and again do format, so you got the format font, and then you can see sort of on the sheet, or do we only want to focus on rows, do we want to focus on columns, and then this is mainly the text. So to get the actual lines, we need to go and find like this, lines, and we can change these. So it looks like I'm going to change the grid lines to none, and you'll notice all my back grid lines are gone. You can also do like let's change the trend line to be this, and let's make it, I don't know, let's make it blue, let's make it green. Up to you. Like that looks terrible now that I look at it, but you can change the line thickness, something like this or like this. So many things that you can do in here. Increase the transparency so it's not as light. Yeah, so bottom is transparency. Do something like that. And again, it's up to you. Like I probably wouldn't stick with green. You can change your reference lines. You can change the axes rulers. Like maybe you want the axes to be more of a full line. Let's see, change our ticks. We don't have any ticks yet, right? Yep. And so then Let's make sure 0 lines. Let's make those bold and maybe like this. Again, it's completely up to you. So all this stuff that you can kind of play around with. This takes not really a long time. It's more just like, I want to do this. How do I do it? And that's sort of an easy way to do it. Okay, hopefully we're moving along. You're moving along. You're sticking with me. If you need a break, pause, take a break. But let's go check out the heat map. Alright, so let's work through a heat map here. So first off, why do we want, or what do we use a heat map for? So it's to analyze a measure over time along some other dimension. So we have time and a dimension, so our categorical things, so time and dimension, and then a measure. So for this one, it says build a heat map that displays how sales, our measure, differs over time, and also broken down on category or subcategory. Let's go simple. It's up to you. You can do category, subcategory. I'll do category, and then we'll adjust it to subcategory and see how it goes. So what we're going to do here is, so we know we need time. So I'm going to go, let's see, order date. I'm going to drag that up to columns. Rather than just yearly, let's look at, let's go yearly. Let's go, let's do monthly, just to see. We can always kind of change it here. And then, let's see. We'll do, what do we want? Let's do category. So, how do we want to do? Yeah, category. So that's our other dimension. So let's find category. It looks like here. Change it to rows. And it's going to kind of build us this table. It's just got A, B, C, and it's like, well, what numbers do I want in here? Well, we have to tell it, right? Well, what do we care about? It looks like it shows sales. So let's take sales. Where is it? All right, so if we want a heat map, there are a couple ways we could do this. We could take sales and drop it on to detail. I think. Oh, it's not going to work. Drag it into rows. That's not what we want. I notice I'm not a professional either. Let's start with color. So a heat map is meant to be color-based. So let's do sales onto color. And notice now, like, we have this. This is kind of ugly that it is kind of this long. Let's say I just want year and quarters, or year and months. Let's drag quarter off. And then it'll only show months rather than quarters. So again, undo. What I just did is rather than splitting it up by each quarter, let's just drag quarter off. All right, so now we have years over months if we want. Let's see. Let's just do months. Let's drag it out. That way it's kind of a little bit easier. And now, like you can see, based upon category, right, the darker is higher sales. That's what a heat map is. And so, like, we have this sort of dark in here. And again, so I'm going to drag these here. All right, so you can see kind of just in general, like furniture, like sales are in office supply and technology. It's lighter. So the first half or couple months of the year are not super great. And then we really make a lot of our money, or a lot of our sales down here at the end of the year. So let's make it more complicated. Let's do subcategory instead of category, so it just fits a little bit better. And again, it's completely up to you if you want to do this. So you can drag subcategory up here, and it'll split them based upon the category. You can get rid of category if you want, so it just does this. It's completely up to you. And if you want to look at it over time, so let's say I still want to look at time, well, let's add order date to filter. And again, I'm going to do order date, drop down, show filter. And then, let's see, I'll do this, and I'll change it to, well, let's change this to a slider because it makes sense. So we can look at like all, and then 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, kind of through there if we want. And just so we can look. And again, you can change this however you want. So maybe if you want to do multiple values, drop down, kind of do whatever you want. So I'll keep it on all. If for some reason you wanted to like add like a label so you could see sales on here, there's two different ways. So if you don't just want the colors, you can take Sales again, make sure you're not dragging from inside the marks card because you'll get rid of the color. So back over here, drag sales and put it on label. And that looks terrible. That looks terrible. That's not what I want. So let's undo it. Just do Control Z. Wonder why it's gonna be like that, because I don't want that. Let's do it on detail maybe. No, it's still not gonna do anything for us. Huh. I don't love that it does that. Usually it doesn't. So let's do label. Yeah, it's just doing it by the text. I wonder why. It usually doesn't do that. Let me drag the filter off and see. Nah, it's not going to work. Let's undo. Alright, sorry. I had some technical difficulties. So, I'm not 100% sure why it's doing like this. So what we can do is, and this is actually a really good lead in to where we're going. So again, let's drag sales out onto label. And this isn't really what we want. And so anytime I see this, I'm like, huh, like, it's not really what I want. So let's just go to the show me button and say like, well, what do I want? So it looks like this is kind of what I want. It's called a highlight table. We also do a heat map. So if I click on that, you could do that, but again, it kind of gets rid of. So technically I'm gonna do a highlight table. And now you have all of this in here. And if you wanna resize stuff, there's a couple different ways to do this. So up here, sort of the roundabout way is, well, let's fit the width. And so it'll go all the way over. And then we could also do, well, never mind, let's fit the height. That's a little bit uglier. You could do entire view. So that changes the size sort of oddly. So I'm gonna go back to standard. If you wanna manually change the size, again, I'll drag this over here. All right. If you're on a Mac, you're gonna hold Command Shift and then hit the letter B and it'll get bigger. All right, and each time you hit B, it'll keep getting bigger. If you're on a PC, it's Control Shift and B at the same time. If you want to make it smaller, then just hold Control B. All right, Control B, Control B, Control B. And that works for all the figures, not just this. So Control Shift B, I'll find one that I like. I kind of like this. You can change the text so these are white and some of these are black. You can change the labels sort of however you want it. Again, you can kind of go in, it's just playing around with. You can change the font, you can change the size. I might do something like this. So if you highlight this and change it to white and do apply and hit OK. It didn't fix that for us. Well, that's not what I want. You can change the alignment here so it's there. Huh. I wonder why it's not going to let us do that. Right. Clearly I'm not a Tableau master either. Interesting. So we can format it like we did last time, I guess. So what you can do is, so I want to show it again with the dollar signs if it's sales. So drop down here and then do format, and then we'll change like inside the pane. Here's where it's going to work. So we're going to do numbers. Let's do currency custom and change it to 0. And then, so close that. And then if we want to change the text type, we should be able to go up to this tab and do A. And then on the worksheet, it should be letting me do this to be white. Oh, that's not good because it's doing it all. So Control Z, right? We're making up. Let's change it back to black. And then, unbelievable. Now it's keeping it white. Tableau is fun. You can actually go within the rows, within the columns, and change it that way. So maybe we'll do, I'll change this to be white. If I change this to be black, it doesn't really do anything for us. It's within the grand total, so we don't have any grand totals. So within the rows, let's change it to black. What do we have here? In columns, sheet for all of them. Oh, it's inside the pane, duh, Gray. If we want to change that, and then if we want to change the color that are inside the tooltips or the headers, maybe make them like green or something like that. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, but you can do that. Yeah, inside the pane, inside the worksheet, it should be a. Yeah, it's like when we formatted them through there, that's what happened. So not sure why one overrides the other. So you can go through and do like different background stuff. You can change the bands, headings. Again, I don't want to go into that for an intro video. Sorry, I'm losing focus here. So yeah, there's a heat map. Again, you can change these colors. Again, you should be able to do the label. I'm going to try one last time. Let's change these to like blue now. Yeah, just like we had a weird setting that wasn't showing up very well. So I like white on blue, but again, it's completely up to you. You don't have to put the labels there if you don't want. You can add a dynamic title here. So notice that we have order date in the filter, but it's not showing up. To get it, just drop down and do show filter, and then the years pop up here. We could say, I don't know, heat map of sales in year. Let's do in, and then we'll do insert. Let's do year, order date, apply, and now, right, and we do 2016, 2017, 2019. All right, so it kind of changed. Again, it's just a lot up to you and playing around like whatever you want. Okay, so now, I love these. These two are my favorite. So filled maps are by far my favorite. I think it's one of the coolest things that you can do in Tableau. And so it's a map, right? And so what our goal is, let's build a map visualizing sales for each of the individual states that can be broken down by subcategory. And so what we want is state data, right? And so let's say I'm going to drag state onto columns. And again, you can actually put this wherever you want. And then what's our outcome of interest? Looks like we want sales. So let's do sales up here. And it starts as a bar graph. But like we know we have that location data because of the globe. All you do is you show me. And then over here are the two types of maps. So the symbol map or the filled map, or just map. So I do this one. I like this one for this, and we'll talk about it. It takes a little bit to think. And it goes through here. It looks like we don't have any data on, let's see, Hawaii or anything like that. Do we have? No, because it's only filled in the United States. A common issue with a lot of data sets is, well, like Hawaii is in there, Alaska's in there, Puerto Rico's in there, and it makes it difficult. So if you ever have that in there, what you can do is drag state up to filter, and then you can uncheck them. And again, we don't have to do this, but because we don't have that data in here, but we could. Like, let's say I don't want to see Alabama in the map. I'm from Kentucky. Let's see. Let's say I don't care about Kentucky, and we'll hit apply. And notice like it loses color over here. All right, well, let's put it back in there. So we'll do apply and do okay. We have it all in there. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You can kind of see the state names are really light. If you want them to show up, you can just take state, drag it over to label. Right, now there are all the names, right, and they pop up. It doesn't like, so the Northeast is always a pain, like it doesn't show them all. If you want to force them to show it all, I don't recommend this, but you could if you go to label and then allow the labels to overlap. This happens for like sales and stuff like that. It'll force them on there if you want, but you don't have to. Which is really cool. So now we can kind of see like, well, darker is higher sales. Right? And well, it looks like, right, California has the highest sales, and then Texas and New York, which kind of makes sense if you think about it and sort of that way. Let's see, other stuff that we can show here. You can play around a lot with the background and the different types. So this is the standard one. I kind of like this one, but again, it's kind of up to you, like how you want to show it. You can go up to map, and then background maps, you can change it to like normal, and it'll update like, oh, it's just a little darker here. Or a lot of people really like the dark. You change it to sort of a dark mode, which can be relatively cool. I think that's really interesting. When we have like countrywide data, like I think we technically have like Mexico and stuff in there, but let's say I don't want to see that. On a filled map, I can actually get rid of everything that's not the country that I care about. So again, if you go to map, and instead of maps, if you go to map options, or map layers, sorry, you can choose your style, kind of how you want. We'll leave it as dark, and then you can do washout. And so what this does, it'll wash out everything that's not the US. You'll notice like the background of the map starts to disappear, and we're stuck with, or we're back to kind of just looking at the US. And it gets kind of rid of that dark mode. If there's other stuff you want on there, it looks like it changed our titles to white. Again, let's see if it's going to work this time. Let's do black. Yeah, you can change it, or you can do it to green or whatever you want. Something like that. Sometimes like the United States will show up in here. So let's say, or if you want it to show up, you can do like, there's all these things you can check. Like you can check this box, like it'll put like different points of interest. I don't see a whole lot of what that does. We'd have to have a set of data. Let's see. So it doesn't have country name in there. So let's say I put country on here as well. Oh, it's putting it all in there all the time, which is not what we want. Let's flip this. Let's do country first. It's putting in the worst. That's not what we want. Huh. Sometimes it puts the United States on the back there, so I'm just going to drag this and I want to drop this off of here. There we go. Just back to states. Or if you didn't put the label for the states, let's see if that's going to work. So I'll get that out of there. Let's say if I went back, map options. That's not what I want. Map layers. And then, yeah, it has the country region. Huh. Usually that country corner will be checked. Go back to light. Yeah, it doesn't change it. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot that you can play around with. So I'll get rid of I'll bring the washout back. It's weird, it has the United States there. So if I brought, let's see, if I took country back to label, it's weird that it puts it all there. That's not really what I want. It's very odd. Huh. So I'm going to drag that off. Get out of here. There we go. Yeah, it looks like I've played around with a lot of the detail stuff. Show mark labels. Yeah, sorry. I should stop playing around for you all. Let's see, the last thing that we can do. So notice, again, we have sales in there. Like you can add, like, let's say you wanted profit and stuff like that in the tooltip. Again, you could just take profit, put it in the tooltip. Let's do quantity as well in the tooltip. And you can see, like, now all those things show up. Let's see. The last thing. So a lot of people, so I'm going to zoom out a little here. I'm using my mouse. Want to move around the map. So this little thing here, like let's move around. If you select these arrows, it'll let us like drag and kind of go through here. You can zoom manually or unmanually. It's kind of up to you. And then the last thing is adding annotations to maps. Like let's say, so let's bring sales. So we have sales by color. Let's do profit on the label. Kind of there. So like maybe you want to like point out different places. Like, so I'm looking in Pennsylvania, I'm losing a lot of money there. And so you can annotate, like put little like graph boxes here. So if you do map, give me just a second. And so to add annotations to the map, or you can do this with any figure. If you just right click in here and then annotate, and you can check like a point or an area. I like point because it has like a little like line that'll tell us like where to go. So if you click on this and type say losing or low profits, so low profits in, again, let's do Pennsylvania. And do okay. So if you do okay, so it starts here, and then you just have to drag it. How do I click on it? Got to drag it. And so I'm going to move it over here, and again I have to move my little point right to there. Alright, and then you could do another one like high profit. And again, you can format all this stuff by, if you right click and then do format, you can change like the shading, you can change the type of box, you can change the corners, you can change the text, you can change the line, like maybe you want it this and this thick and I don't know, black or something like that. Like it's completely up to you. It's what you like on there, but it's a lot. And you can do that on any sort of graph, which is really, really cool. I like it a lot. Let's say you wanted to be a little bit more specific. You wanted to look at like city level data. You could do that on here, but it's actually a little bit more, I guess it makes a little bit more sense to do it in using a different type of map. Like you could, but it's not going to fill it in, I don't believe, so we can try. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Let's drag city up here and see what happens. It tries to give you one for every city, which is not what we want. And so you could also put like on the labels, and so it automatically changes the map type to where we're going next. So let's undo this, Control or Command Z a couple times. All right, and then we'll go over to the next one, so dot map. Right, a dot map is more set up to talk about like a little bit more detailed, like citywide, or maybe even you could do field stuff with county if you want to just like focus in on an individual state or something like that. It's up to you, but generally the smaller like city, county, stuff like that, I would use a dot map, and it follows kind of the same approach. Except this time I'll do, so let's read what we're supposed to do. Create a dot map with the size of the dot related to sales and the color of the dot being related to profits that can be filtered based on product category. All right, so hopefully the filtering's easy for you now. But let's start with city up here into columns, and you can automatically go ahead, and once you have that geo dimension, you can kind of see, let's see, I can go down here. Damn it. It tells you what you need, like one dimension, and you don't need the one other dimension or other measure, but you can. But if I want to start and see what it's going to look like, I'll start and just click on the little dot map, and now I have a dot for every single city in through there. And if you didn't build this hierarchy earlier, you might be in big trouble. It might have a bunch of nulls, so hopefully you go back or you've already built this hierarchy. And so now let's see what it wants. So it says create a dot map with the size of the dot related to sales. Okay, well let's take sales, drag it onto size, and now bigger dot, more sales. And so you kind of see it this way. And if you don't like this, you can play around with it. So do the drop down, do edit sizes, and there are a lot of different ways to do it. You can do it kind of this way where you just like drag this out and then do apply and see what it looks like and think like, oh, I kind of like that. Or if you want to do it more manually, go from automatic and you can do by range. And then you can do like, okay, I want really big dots and I want them to start even bigger. And this is going to look terrible. Like, oh, God. So a lot of it's just kind of playing around with it. And you can flip them. Like you make it reversed where big is small, which I don't know why you would do. But a lot of it's just playing around with whichever ones you like. I like to make sure there's like a clear delineation between the two. If you know what, like you want to start from 0 and then just make bigger, like you can do that. Like I kind of like this one. It's again all up to you. And so now bigger size, more sales. Well, let's look for, so the next thing we need to add is profits, and I want that by color. And so what you can do is take profit, drag it over to color, and now you have a color. Right? And again, it's kind of up to you in terms of what colors you want to do. So let's change it. Let's do edit colors just for practice, and we'll do, let's see, let's find red and green. This actually isn't a very popular one, and I learned that because there are a lot of colorblind people like myself that doesn't work for. So I want red to be bad and green to be good, and I like that. So I'll do, I don't know why I like use full color range. I'll do apply. I don't love the white in there because then it's kind of odd to see. So let's see, is there a red, just red, green? Yeah, red, green, diverging. Oops, I chose the wrong one. All right, apply. And again, I've taken the colorblind test. That's my nightmare. So I'll go to temperature diverging, and then I'll flip it. And then if you want to change like different just steps, like you can do something like this, or like this, drop it down. It's kind of up to you. Use the full color range. You can even go in and select like a different color red. So I might do a more in-depth red and do okay. And then I think we should be able to play around in this a little bit more, but if I do apply. And now you have two measures. So a big dot means high sales, and then a big green dot means high sales, high profit. Whereas a big dot that's red, like Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, which we talked about, well, that's high sales, but I'm losing a lot of money. So these, I'm like, well, damn, that's like down in Houston, I'm having problems. Or it looks like up here in Seattle, I'm having problems, which is not what we want. And now you can see United States and Kansas. So let's get rid of the United States. Like that's kind of odd to have in there just for practice. So if we go again, map, map layers. I'm dumb. So map layers, And then if you'll scroll, you should see like country and region names. Just uncheck it and notice the US goes. And if you want to get rid of the states, you can uncheck that as well. I'd probably keep them. I think it looks all nice here. One thing I don't love about a dot map is you can't do the washout. So if you do like the washout here, the whole map goes away, which stinks. So we're kind of stuck looking at Mexico and Canada, even though it's not really where our focus is. So you can combine this with a colored one. Other things we can do. So maybe you don't want to let, or you're like struggling like me, like you're randomly zooming in and out or randomly moving. Right? You can actually keep people from being able to do that. So if you find a spot that you really like, so let's say I really like this view. I don't want anyone to be able to mess with it. What you can do is then go to map options, and you can uncheck allow pan and zoom. And you can actually get rid of this toolbar if you don't want anyone to do like that. You can add a scale if you want. It's kind of up to you, but that's a way to like now, if you're trying, there is no even zoom in, zoom out option. You can also, these are really cool. You can like select different areas. Like maybe I just want to look at these. Like these will highlight if you want to kind of do that way, but it's up to you. A lot of cool stuff that you can kind of do with these. So last thing I'll show you for this. I've already talked a lot, probably longer than you want, but again, this is pissing me off that profit and sales, every time they don't show up in currency. All right, and I've probably been playing a little bit of game with you because I know how to fix that permanently, but I wanted to show you how to do it individually if you wanted as well. So if you wanted to change it so it's always in dollar format, over here in your data, let's find profit, do the drop down, and then do... this is kind of an odd one. It should say format, but it doesn't. But under default properties, and then you do number format. And so now I always want this to be currency 0. All right, and then we can change it to thousands if you want. Our data isn't like that, so I'll do okay. And now when you highlight, it's changed, and it'll be like that forever. And so I'll do the same thing to sales. So sales, and then I'll do default properties. See number format, and then we'll do currency custom, because again I like no decimals with large numbers, and we're kind of set. And you can add sort of anything you want into these details. Like we have city, we have country, which is odd. If there's stuff you want to get rid of, or if you want to reorder stuff, go to the tooltip, and you'll notice like everything is like, I don't want country, so I'm going to delete that. And then let's say I want state and then city, so I'll just cut this. Like I'll do again, I'll do Control X or Command X if you're a Mac. All right, and then maybe I want the space as well, so I'll do okay. And then you'll see like state, city, and then profit and sales. And again, you can sort of change the order however you want. And you can still add labels and stuff like that, but then it gets a little bit more complicated. Let's see, what am I forgetting? Our filter based on product category. This should be easy for you all now. So do the drop down, and we'll do show filter, and then change the filter. Let's see, to be, I don't know, multiple value drop down. I hate that one, so something like this. All right. Okay, I wasn't going to show you this, but I'm going to show it to you because I actually just learned about it maybe a week or so ago, and I think it's useful. It's probably more advanced than beginner, but so I've shown you, like, if you wanted to look at it by year as well, you could again do order date and then show filter and kind of click through here. All right, and sort of select. But another option is, so let's take year out of here, is this pages card, and I've honestly only ever seen it a couple times, but it like lets us play over time. So if you took order date and dropped it into pages, all right, this thing pops up, and it starts with, I don't know where it's going to start, so it looks like the oldest year, but if you click back, you can do it this way. So you can look at 2016, then 2017, then 2018, 2019, or right down here, you can do this play button, and it'll play. All right, 2016, 2018, 2019. All right, and then you can set it up as kind of continuous, play around. I haven't played around as much with this. It's kind of up to you all to experiment. I'll talk more about it in the advanced video or the intermediate video, but that's a really cool way to do it. You can play it backwards if you want to see like how things are, show it in a presentation over time. So I think that's really cool. You can change it, I do believe, up here if you do. Yeah, you can change it to like quarters as well if you want, which if you wanted to do that. And so you could have multiple pages where you have a year and then play it across quarters. And again, I'm not an expert there, so I'm not going to try and confuse you, but it is possible. Okay, last visual, a pie chart. I don't really like pie charts, I'll be completely honest, but I want to show you that Tableau can do it. So first off, anything that Tableau can do, you can kind of see over here. So this video doesn't contain everything in there. So I've seen these packed bubbles actually a pretty decent amount. So maybe that's something you want to experiment with. But we want a pie chart. To build this, what do I need? So I need a dimension and at least one measure. So one category and then at least one numeric variable. So I'll click on show me, and what does it want? Build a pie chart showing a breakdown of profit across the different subcategories that can be filtered based on category. Okay, the filter part ought to be easy, and so it looks like subcategory is what we want first. So I'm going to drag subcategory up to columns, and if you're asking, like, how does Gray know how to do that? Like, how does he know to drag it to columns? And the easy answer is, I have no idea. Like, I'm playing around with it and I'm seeing what works and what doesn't work. Like, maybe I put it in rows and then what do we want in here? So we want profit, right? So then I'll take profit up to columns, and it starts off with something hideous, but then I'll go to show me and then pie chart. And then it kind of builds everything for me. So if you think like, oh, he just knows how to drag that there, I have no idea. Like, I've just played and I use the features in Tableau to help me. So I'm going to undo this, Control-Z, 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 or Command-Z if you're a Mac, or if you're old school, click on the back button. But again, so generally like subcategory and then profit. And again, it's hideous, so I want a bar or a pie chart, so I'll do the pie chart. And it shows us sort of this breakdown by color here. Yeah, and then so that's what I've kind of done. Again, this is really small. If you want to make it bigger, Control or Command Shift B. So Control Shift B. That's getting bigger. Or you can do entire view, something like that. Another way to do this. So I'm gonna drag everything off here. All right. And so usually it starts with this, but if you know you want to make a pie chart initially, you can drop down here and do pie, and then drag what you need, like subcategory, like to the different color. So I want the different subcategories by color, and then, well, what do I want the angles to represent? The size of the pies? Well, that's all I want profit. So it gets you to the same kind of thing. You can go in and manually change these colors. There are a bunch of different options. It's up to you, kind of whatever you want. Notice because I now have a dimension rather than a measure, I don't have that scale. So because I have a categorical variable, I have to actually manually pick each one. So you can just go to accessories and change it to here, 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 here. And again, you can kind of choose like a million different ones if you want. So maybe, oh, there's a colorblind palette. Hey, this is like my world. And again, you don't have to do this. That's up to you. I'm going to undo that just so I don't confuse people. I probably already have. But yeah, which is nice. And then if you want to label it, well, maybe I want the profit on here. So I'll just take profit. I'll drag it to labels. And then it's on there. And again, maybe I want this bigger. Control-Shift-B. So it's like, oh, it won't let me do it if I do that. So I'll have to change it the other way. Let's see. One other probably more advanced feature here is, let's say you don't want the total, but you want the percent for each of these, percent contribution. Well, Tableau can do that pretty quickly for you. So notice where you have the text for sum of profit. If you click the drop down and then under quick table calculation, you can do a bunch of these things. So you can do running total, difference, percent rank, percentile, moving average. I want percent of total. So now it'll show a percentage for each of these. And again, notice that these are missing. It's because, right, it's too much overlap. To make them overlap, go in here, do allow overlap, And again, it doesn't fit very well, but I'll go back to standard, and then let's just make it bigger ourselves. That just doesn't work at all. So let's see, I'll go back to entire view. You can actually drag these, I forgot. So you can click on one of these and then just drag. And same thing, like you can add like an annotation as well if you don't want to do that. And so you can kind of move them. Maybe you want them inside the graph or something like that, you can do. Last thing we need is a categories filter. This ought to be boring to you now, so we'll just do drop down here, and then we'll do show filter. And again, I'll do multiple value drop down. I just think it looks nicer. Yeah, and so you can add a dynamic title if you want. I don't want to show that to you again if you don't want to see it. Okay, so those are all the different accessories. So how do we tell a story? How do I connect all of these things? And so in Tableau, there's two different ways we can do this. The one that I like is to create a dashboard. And so down here on the bottom, you'll notice, okay, here is, usually it highlights for me. I wonder why it's not doing that. So, oh yeah, there. So this one says new worksheet, which all of these have been worksheets. So if you click on that, it'll look kind of like we're starting from scratch. Right, the second one is called new dashboard. So I'll do new dashboard. And so dashboard is a way that we can sort of connect multiple visuals. And there's no way you're going to master this. There's no way I can tell you all of this in this short, well, it's getting long now, video to have you know everything. So I just want to talk about the basics. So first off, it comes out like this, and you can choose your size. So it comes in a standard size, a fixed one, which is fine. But if you know you're building something for something specific, you can change it to automatic. That's not what I want, great. Range, sorry. And then, what am I doing here? Fixed size, and then if you go to custom, there's a bunch of different types. So if you know like you're going to put this in a PowerPoint, well, I might want to do a PowerPoint sized form. Or if you know it's going to be displayed on a generic desktop or a desktop browser or a full screen, a laptop browser, web page, it's up to you and like what you like or what you need and what you need to fit best. So let's see, which one am I going to do? It doesn't matter. So I'm going to do PowerPoint. You can also, if you know like what specifications you want, you can change those as well. It's kind of completely up to you. Again, you can do automatic. It'll rescreen to fit any size. I don't like that because it messes with the visuals a lot. So I typically do fixed, and then I'll select. Let's see. I'm going to put this, or you can post this on your Tableau public. So maybe we'll do like a generic desktop. And then if you click off, you have all this. And then there's two ways to do this. When I first started out, I really liked floating. So down here we get to choose, like, first off, here are all the sheets that we can drag in, all the stuff that we like all the stuff we just created. And then the objects. So like we can tell you like different bars, different text spots, an image, a web page. We'll talk a lot about these in the more advanced one. But yeah, there's two ways you can do it. So beginning, I really liked floating until I got a little more comfortable with tiled. So tiled trying to like automatically sets us up in terms of like it chooses it in here. So like let me show you. So now let's say I have the dot map and I want to bring it in here. There's nothing in here, so it's like, all right, we're gonna fit this whole thing. All right, so I'll do this. All right, and it's just fit here. Right? I can resize it after I do that, and then all the stuff that we like, we can kind of put in there. It's up to there. So if I undo that, the other option is we can change it to floating, and then when we drag in the dot map, it doesn't give us any like suggestions. It's just like, all right, we're going to start here, and then you have to manually kind of play around with where you like. And so each has a different pro and con. Again, I kind of like this one early until I got a little bit better. So then I went to tiled, so I'm almost exclusively tiled now, at least to start. Because notice, let's say I'll drag the dot map back out here. You can change these things. And so let's say I don't want to see this sales thing. So you can click on it, do drop down, and then just do remove from dashboard so you don't see it. But then let's say I want the profit and the category inside the map. You can change these to floating. So if you do the drop down, and then down here you should see floating. Right, and then we can kind of move them around. So let's say I'll have category here, and I'll do the same thing with profit. So I'll do the drop down, I'll say floating, and I'll move it here. Right, and then you can kind of manually make these things, or if you go back to layout, you can actually like see where all these positions are and match them up. So this thing is, let's see, it looks like it's 17 and 541. So if I wanted this to start at the same spot, I would change this to 17. So it starts at the same spot. I don't want to change Y because Y is vertical. But if I wanted to be the same width and same height, so this one's 168 and 61, I could do 168 and 61. And now they're both similar size and in the same location. So you can kind of play around there on the layout. And again, this takes a lot of practice. So now if I have the dot map, well, I want something else. Like let's say I also wanted, so the dot map is sales and profit. And so if you want to keep this title, you can, but I probably wouldn't. I would right click and do hide title. Or you can edit it back on your dot map over here and change it to something you like, or edit it in there. It's completely up to you. But let's say I also want the pie chart in here. So if I want to look at profit and sales across the country, and then but I also want to look at it by the different subcategories, like just overall. And you can combine these two. So again, as you drag it out, it'll have like recommendations for where you want it. The more like broad, like the less stuff you have in there, the bigger these things are going to be. So let's say I want to put it under, do I want it underneath? Let's put it to the right. So I'll put it to the right. And then again, like, you can change these, so let's make this floating over here, and then I might make this a little bit smaller. So again, a lot of this is just resizing, and then click on it, and then floating, so there, and then you can see it kind of auto fits, and again, you can kind of move this. All right, so now you can kind of see this, and what if you want like a text to talk about it? Well, then you can take the text one, drag it, and again, notice like the squares are getting smaller. Right, if I want it at the very top, I can go up to the top. You can start like up here, makes it a little smaller, but I want to show you like, click here, and then you got to type something like, let's see, map and pie chart showing, let's see, sales and profits. And again, there's no reason why I connected these two, so I can do okay. And it starts huge, but again, just to resize, you can like drag up and move it up this way. You can center this stuff, so move it this way and do okay. It's all up to you. So again, this takes a lot of practice. I'll be honest, I cussed myself a lot. I was like, damn it! I was like just trying to get these things to fit initially, so it just takes a little practice. So I would get rid of this, and let's see, hide title. And you can do more than that, right? And so you can do, let's see, let's drag in the scatter. So let's also bring in the scatter plot, and let's have it showing, where do we want it? Let's do the scatter and the pie chart together here. So like on the same one, and again, this is frustrating early because it automatically does this tiled. Let's see, let's do again. You don't have to show these, you might want to get rid of them, but you can have this here and put this here, something like that. And then it's odd when I'm clicked off into these, it's like just highlighting, but if you click, you should be able to just do all of these, right? Oh. Yeah, so you get kind of all our colors. And this is hideous, like I wouldn't leave it like this. I would do some aesthetically pleasing stuff. Let's see, I'll hide this title. Again, it's kind of up to you. And again, this is ugly, but you could connect, like, it's just so you can show multiple visuals, you can talk about it. Again, I would update this with like Scatterplot. Yeah, so you can put a lot of visuals on one page and talk about them all. And so this one doesn't do a very good job, but you could have something where you tell a story with this. And again, you've locked this so you can't like move in on it or anything like that. There are ways to connect like this map to show on this pie chart and show the dot. it's probably a little bit more complicated than we want. You can watch sort of the intermediate where we actually connect the dashboards, the sheets within the dashboards, the visuals in the dashboards. All right, so there's at least an introduction. The last thing I want to talk about is, well, what if you want to like, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation? It's like you want to tell a story. And so conveniently enough, this third little picture down here is story. So if you click on this, it's kind of like a story. So step one, let's say add a caption. I'll do map of, I don't know, US with sales. And I'll drag my, let's see, so you can drag in either an individual sheet or a whole dashboard. So I'm going to drag in, let's see, what do I want here? I probably want my field map in here. Oop. Drag the field map, bring it in here. All right, and then again, I didn't lock this one, so that stinks. This one's a little bit more difficult in that it brings exactly what's on the sheet. So because we have sales over here, we can't mess around with, like I can't move this around, and you can't either. If you wanted to, you could build a dashboard and have it and then bring it in as well. But then, so here's the first one. We can talk about that, and then if you want to bring text, you can bring text and say, yeah, like, let's see, where I'll put this like here. Say like, map of profits in the US based on, and hit OK. And it'll show up here, and again, you can resize it, anything like that. You can change the background. So this one's kind of odd in that you have to do, I believe you have to do layout. Nope, you have to do the drop down and then do format description, and then change the shading to none if you don't want any shading, or maybe you want black and then you want the text to be white or something like that. You can change it center, you can change the border. So let's see if I'll double click in here and I'll change this to be white and do okay, and maybe if you want to do something like that. And then you want to be like, okay, there's the first slide, essentially, so I can tell that. And then if you want a next one, so just do blank, and there's another one. And so now I want to introduce, I don't know, a bar graph. Showing sales and profit across in category and subcategory. And it looks kind of terrible this way. Well, the nice thing about these is you can easily make these larger. So I'll go to the side, I'll drag, and it's a lot bigger. And kind of there. So I'll take my bar graph and I'll bring it out here. And we kind of, again, we have it all, so it's set up exactly like the sheet. So if I go back here, notice that it has all these things over on it. I haven't figured out a way to be able to move these unless I build a dashboard and set them where I want them. So that's kind of a pain. It's up to kind of you. If you don't like these, like let's say you don't like these, well, if you go to layout, you can actually change what these are, like change them to numbers, so like 1, 2, and then you have the text explaining it. Or you can do dots. And so it's just something like that. You can do arrows and go kind of that way. I like the caption boxes just as sort of an introduction. And again, you can go to presentation mode and see exactly kind of what it would look like to someone else. You can rename this whatever you want. And so, I don't know, presentation on sales and profit for the company. And then again, I don't know, center it and apply, and then okay. And it's up to you. So this one maybe I would add, then I would just do the dots. You can do it like that and just introduce it. So I like it. It's pretty cool. And again, the story, and then you can do a blank, or you can duplicate the one that you're on if you have to, like, you want to say something else. Again, you can change the size if you want. I never have. You don't have to show the title. You can show the title. A lot of it's just playing around. So the last one will be, let's see, I'll go back to caption boxes. I'll do story. Let's do blank. And then, yeah, the last one. So we'll say, we'll drag it in. We'll do so dashboard all info as well. Something stupid like that. I don't know. And again, same thing. Like if you're thinking like, oh, I want to be able to format this, you can just if you do layout and then the caption boxes, and I'm pretty sure you can do. Let's see, in the story, you can do format. You can kind of change all these things. So the shading, like I don't know, maybe you want the white shading in the back, or let's see, title. Yeah, the shading in the back here. So let's do that, or maybe you want to make them blue or something beautiful. I don't know. I'm the least aesthetically pleasing person on the planet, so I have to get help with that all the time. Completely up to you. And then notice like how this isn't shaped very well. The nice thing about Tableau is like if you go and modify things in the past, so let's just go modify this dashboard. Let's change the size to story. Yeah, let's change it to story. This will update so it fits a little better, and we go back to story. This thing's taking a second, but it's updating to try and fit that size as well, which it's still a little bit ugly, so we'd have to play around with it. And again, you'd want to bring text or anything like that. But there's so much that you can do. I'm sorry, this probably went a lot longer than I thought, but I wanted to make sure that I at least got the basics. There's still so much other stuff you can do to make this pretty and make these things interact, which we'll talk about in the later videos. So for now, just play around. Go watch some of the workshops, something like that. And if you have questions, please reach out to any of us and we'll sort of help. Again, I know this isn't beautiful, but I wanted to give you a sense of what it could do. Hope this helps and was at least a good introduction.